So Meredith, last time we met, we talked about an assignment where you were going to be logging some of your activities for a day. And I see that it looks like you brought that with you.
I did,
Do you
right.
mind if we take a look at that
Sure.
together? Okay. Well, very good. Can you share with me some of the things that you may have noticed from doing this activity?
Well, I did do the activity we planned last time, going to the grocery. And when I looked at it, for one, I was glad I went. And you asked me also to rate how it made me feel, how much I think mastery and pleasure I got from the activity.
Right.
And I was really surprised at how good actually getting that activity done made me feel. It seemed sort of like I have to, and it was hard to just muster up the energy and the desire to go. But once I got there, I noticed that my mood was better.
Well, very good. It sounds like you found it to be helpful. And I found that a lot of times when patients struggle with motivation, trying to get in these activities that they are having a difficult time doing, sometimes it's just getting over that first step, that hurdle of doing it, and then realizing how much pleasure you do get from it. And so I hope that this will continue to be something that is helpful for you. Any other things that you've noticed or learned from doing this activity?
Well, we had talked about eating healthier, and when I got home from the grocery, you know, my mood was better, and I actually sat down and made lunch, and I enjoyed that meal more than any meal I have the rest of the week. So that was a surprise.
Very good, very good. Now I also noticed that you have on here that you had a visit from your brother and his children. Can you tell me about that?
Well, my brother and I are pretty close, and he's been calling for weeks, and I just didn't feel like answering the phone. So he just ended up popping in. He stopped over with the kids, and when they first got there, I was like, oh, I really didn't feel like interacting with them. I didn't think I was going to have the energy to play with the kids. But once they were there for just a few minutes, having them there was really nice. I really was able to enjoy the time that they were there. And even after they left, I noticed that I felt a little bit better.
Okay, great. So again, it sounds like just kind of getting over that first hurdle of doing the activity is difficult, but then once doing it, you realize how helpful it is. And I know that you also mentioned before that feeling of being alone and
Right.
not being as active, including being with others and being with family. So this kind of sounds like getting back to your old self again. Do you think that visits with your brother or other family or friends could be something you may implement more into your schedule?
I think so. Having him stop by, I really didn't have to plan it, so that was nice. But I did feel so much better, so I think adding some of that back in may be helpful.
Good, good. I would agree. Now, I did also notice here that you had watching television down here as one of the activities, and it has a pretty low pleasure rating. Could you talk to me about that?
Having to write down what I was doing during the day, I was really surprised at how much TV I was watching. And when I had to rate, you know, how good I felt doing that, I was surprised that it was pretty low, like you can see. It always seems like the easiest thing to do, and I thought it was something I at least liked doing. But when I really had to sit down and write it out, I noticed that I really felt worse when I spent a lot of time in front of the TV.
Okay. So again, kind of tying this back to that energy piece, you've been feeling like you've had less energy lately, not doing as much, less active.
Right.
And so I can see that it can be easy to kind of fall back into watching television and so much time passes by. But hopefully when you take a look at what you have written down, that doesn't really bring you much pleasure or make you feel much better. I hope that this can help you organize kind of where you want to put more efforts into what activities. So I hope that this has been helpful for you.
It has. You know, it makes me wonder, why am I spending so much time doing this if it's really making me feel worse? It doesn't make sense.
Right, right. Well, very good. I think you did an excellent job there.
Thanks.
I wonder if, you know, talking about some of these activities, do you have any other ideas about maybe new activities or other activities you might want to implement into your schedule?
Well, I was thinking, you know, in trying to get back to the way I used to be, one of the things I used to enjoy doing was swimming. I used to be on the swim team in high school. Then after high school, I would go with a friend, and I used to really enjoy that.
Okay, okay. So are you saying that it's something you might want to get back into again?
I do. I do want to start swimming again.
Okay. Well, why don't we kind of break that down a little bit? If you were to get back into swimming, when do you think you would do that and how often?
Well, I used to swim every day, so I think a good place to start would be maybe going 3 times a week.
Okay. And I'm glad to hear you be very enthusiastic and wanting to get back into swimming. I just wonder again if that would be a lot to do all at once. 3 times a week is a lot. What percent likelihood do you think you would put on if you would swim 3 times per week?
I guess that does kind of sound like a lot. Maybe 30 or 40%.
Okay. So it's kind of low. What do you think might be more reasonable or might be more doable for you?
I think going that very first time is going to be the toughest, actually getting over that hurdle and getting started. So maybe if I can set the goal to just go that one time and get the first time out of the way, that may be more doable.
Okay, I agree with you. I think that's something more doable, more reasonable. Maybe if we take a look at just getting over that first hurdle, like you said, and do that very first time, then we can look later at maybe how often you want to do it after that. So I think that's great. If you were to put a percent likelihood to that of doing it just that one time in the next coming week or so, what would you
Just doing
say?
it once, that would be more about 70 or 80%.
Okay, so that's a lot higher, so very good. Now, I'm sure there's maybe some other things that you would need to do to prepare if you were going to start swimming again. Can we kind of brainstorm what that would be?
Right. Well, I have a place to go, but it's been a while since I've gone, so I'll have to think about where I put my swimsuit, where I put my goggles, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So I may have to work on finding those things and getting them organized.
Okay. I agree, and I think that maybe if you plan that out beforehand and not just trying to find those things the day that you're going to swim, but actually get those things out beforehand, it might make it a lot easier for you to actually then swim on that day that you're deciding to do that.
I know that with the grocery, having the list done the night before was really helpful when it came to the day to go. So maybe having those things already set aside before I'm planning to go might be helpful.
I agree. Good. Very good. Now, the one thing we've talked about these activities, there was something else that I wanted to touch base with you on, and that was you had mentioned to me that there were times when people would call, friends would call, and you didn't really feel like answering the phone. How has that been lately?
I still haven't been answering the phone when they call. Like
Okay.
my brother just sort of stopped by because he couldn't get a hold of me.
Okay. So when people call, help me understand your thought process. What's going on that you generally don't answer?
I just don't feel like talking to anyone.
Okay. Okay.
And then afterwards, when I don't answer the phone, I kind of feel bad that I didn't answer their call.
Okay. Well, like you mentioned with your brother, it was something that maybe initially you didn't have a lot of motivation to do, but once he dropped by, it made you feel better. I wonder if something could be similar with answering a phone call, or maybe you have any other idea with how to deal with that.
Well, when we mentioned swimming, I used to swim with a friend of mine, and she's one of the people who've actually been calling and have not been answering the phone. And I think it would be nice to reconnect with her.
Okay, that would be good. So what do you think you would do? Would you then answer a call if she were to call, or do you think you may take the initiative to give her a call?
I think at this point I probably need to give her a call.
Okay. Well, again, you've come up with some really great ideas as far as some activities. One thing we haven't done yet is talk more specifically about when you would actually do those.
Right.
Can we talk about that a little bit? Do you think there are maybe some times where you could fit the phone call with your friend in, or the swimming?
Right. Like when we set a date for the grocery, it really helped me to get that done instead of just saying one day I'm going to go to the grocery. So I think that setting a time would be helpful. With my friend, I think I just need to go ahead and call her today and get that done. I think if I delay it any longer, then I'm going to be less likely to call her. So I think that's something I can do later today.
Okay, very good. And as far as the swimming, is there a specific day of the week that you want to plan to do that?
Let's see, looking at my schedule, I think that Wednesday morning would be a good day for me to do that. I have that morning off.
So you have some free time then. Okay, very good. Well, it sounds like we have our activities that we can see have been helpful, maybe others that have been less helpful. We also have some new activities that you want to put into your schedule. So it seems like we have a pretty good plan in place. What do you think?
I think so.
Okay.